All right. So yeah, on my end, after some discussion on in Mattermost, I finally went back and finished the muted reason thing. I saw that Bartek you picked up on it, but I opened two branches, so I closed the one that is bad. Um, the so this should be working. I know you said you needed to review it to make sure that it's PostgreSQL um, compliant. So as soon as that's done, I'll make the changes as well. Apart from that, yeah. Meanwhile, I'm still working on the current base
Sorry,
integration.
I didn't understand. What was the issue about the Postgres compliance?
Uh,
Actually, it was no issue. It was just my question to guys which are implementing switch to PostgreST to verify that new changes made by HOO are maybe they will need to be somehow also adjusted in new SQL implementations because some parts of Python code uh, were moved to the SQL directly, and we need now figure out if something needs to be extended there. I will consult with them tomorrow in details, and if something could be needed to SQL versions already using PostgreSQL version, I let know how just to supplement this implementation because it is already merged to develop, so I think that will be simpler.
Okay.
Mostly it should be related to extending returned schema objects by new field. I suppose that only that part will be potentially
Okay, so
need
you're
some
talking about
adjustment.
changes that I guess you're talking about some changes the PostgreSQL guys have done that hasn't yet been
Yes, yes,
merged to
yes.
develop. Okay, so
Uh,
I suppose when they merge, they would probably like
yes,
change
they
some of
were
that.
merged, but how don't have them
Yeah, yeah.
in
How, what
his
I'm saying is
branch.
Howo doesn't have their change, but when they rebase to get Howo's version, when they rebase to develop,
Yes,
they'll
but
get everything from
I'm not.
Howo.
I'm not sure if just rebase will be sufficient because we can not have some conflicts, explicit conflicts, because guys can maybe they added some another files holding similar structures in SQL, which of course was not modified by How. So we need just review uh, such code, and I let him know
Okay.
if anything is needed from his side.
okay. And you think you'll know tomorrow, right?
Yes, I will try tomorrow
I mean,
to
yeah. There is no rush.
consult it.
Uh, but yeah, I think that's it for me. Oh, also, it's been a while since I worked on Hivemain, and the speed up has really been noticeable. The what used to take like an hour now takes like 15 minutes. I think that's quite impressive.
Well, nice. It's interesting. You said, you said you were working on something else too, right? Or maybe I
Oh yeah,
I
it's
thought you were
but I
getting
mean
ready.
it's the still the underlying Rosetta API thing.
So how's that going?
That's not going very well these days. The issue is I'm migrating away to try to use your newest changes and the newest libraries that you presented at HiveFest.
Okay.
Uh, the issue is that it's in TypeScript, and I initially wrote the thing in Node, and so I basically need to migrate a bunch of the code onto that. But overall, it's going to save me time at the end of the day because then I don't need to redo most of the operation parsing and because the trickiest part of this entire thing is being able to create offline signing. Offline signing where you generate a transaction and then you sign it and you send a signed transaction, which is
Okay.
something that happens in two parts, and that's not really something that's supported by anything in our tooling. Uh, but I know that uh, your library helps with doing that, so that's the goal. So I'm still in the migrating phase, and then afterwards I'll be able to leverage it.
Okay. Do you have any questions about any of the wax stuff you need? Do you need anybody to contact to help I guess the other thing is I was going to mention too before I even get you answered. I know that Bartek said that they're using like editors, basically IDEs that help them use Wax, and I don't know if you've got that configured, but that might be useful too.
Huh, no, I wasn't aware it was a thing. I assume it's in Visual Studio.
Yeah, exactly. They just I think
Yes,
It's a shame.
we are using Visual Studio Code on Linux, and as I lately checked, also works there, develop dev containers very well. Wax has added one in its configuration, and all what you need is opening its folder in given dev container, and every tool required to work with Wax is in such container. So you just need to build it and do what you want. So that's really helpful in my opinion.
Actually, while I'm at it, how mature is the Python version of Wax?
Python version of Wax is under development, and we made some significant step like the first part called BQPy has been finally merged to develop, and right now we are getting ready to start designing and implementing Python object representation in Wax to have similar interface to TypeScript. But unfortunately, such works didn't start yet because most of Python guys is still involved in other started tasks. But I hope it will be possible soon. So I I hope that first version of Python maybe could be could be provided up to end of this year in month of two. It will be not definitely not ready for release, but maybe it just will show some structural interfaces and some usage scenarios we plan to do.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, so I guess my other question is, would there be helpful for you to have any particular contact for using Wax, or do you good?
Yeah, that would be helpful. I mean, it's mostly something that's offline would totally work. So if they're on Mattermost, or if you literally an email address would work as well.
Yeah, Mattermost is probably a good place. Just I guess ping Bartek and he can.
Yes, yes, I know that I'm rarely are online there, but we'll try to be more active on this channel.
Okay.
Okay, so I guess that's probably it from your side right now.
Yep.
Okay, guess I'll take it next. So on the, obviously we've been working on a bunch of tools. So in Hive D, I guess one of the things that's came up is it's been desire to increase the expiration time for transactions. So we started looking into that because right now transactions basically only allowed to expire after an hour if once they're broadcast. And so we have an idea for how to fix that now. The most obvious way we were a little concerned about, at least some of us were, and mainly Andre, but so we've done a bunch of tests to basically test the how much congestion we could get by basically generating a huge number of transactions and seeing what would happen if we kept the block size very small like it is now, and then bombarded the network with a lot of transactions to see if extending the expiration time could cause any issues. And it did push up memory considerably, and it also exposed some other issues that basically we never really tested for because we just haven't tested that kind of huge traffic amount with small blocks. So we've made a couple of fixes related to that, and we also have come up with a method, I think is Bartek's idea, for how to handle transactions with the longer expiration time, but in a way that won't create that kind of congestion. Um, so we're going to implement that, and that'll be in the next hard fork. Um, And so as part of all this, since we were making some hard fork related changes, and still making a fair amount of changes to Hive-D, bug fixes and such, we pushed the hard fork date back further. So we've got it set for December 11th, at least nominally right now. That's not a hard date, but I think it's a reasonable one that we might be able to make. It really depends a little bit on how much more we decide to try to fit into Hive-D and how fast we are able to do that. Let's see what else. There's a bunch of minor improvements to Hive-D, but I'm not going to cover all those. Beekeeper is basically, Bartek just mentioned Beekeeper Pi. Beekeeper is basically a new sort of wallet for handling keys. It just handles keys. That's all it's about. It's a key storage system, I guess, key encryption system. And so as he's mentioned, we've got a Python-based library now for talking to that, and we use Beekeeper in both Denser, the new condenser replacement, and it's also used, but the Python version is being used by Clive, because Clive is our Python-based wallet we've been working on for a bit. So that's why that package has been created. And there's been several improvements to the Beekeeper's API to support Clive's usages. So we learned a bit more about issues about how features Beekeeper needs and while we're working on Clive. So I think those are mostly all completed at this point, though. So I don't know that there's a whole lot going on with Beekeeper right now that's new, unless Bartek can think of something he's still interested in adding to Beekeeper. Let's see. So the other thing we've been doing is been making a lot of changes to Half. This is for a while now. We made some fixes to the auto detach mechanism. The auto detach mechanism is how we handle the case if a Half app dies unexpectedly. That used to cause performance problems because data would accumulate. And so we have to basically clean up the app when it dies. And that's what the auto detach mechanism is. And we created that a while back, but we found some problems with it, so we fixed them. And we also, that mechanism used to be controlled by Hive-D, so Hive-D would periodically basically issue out a statement to see if any of the apps were dead. And we moved that logic out of Hive-D, and now it's just in a separate cron job. So it's its own thread. It just periodically checks if any of the Half apps have died, and if so, tells Half to detach them from the system. We also fixed a bug we found in Half that could randomly cause a problem restarting a Half node. That's been There's been reports various times of a failure to restart Half. So hopefully this fixed all those issues. And we've also been looking at improving the process of upgrading Half, and that's like the last task, I guess, Half related that I know about before the release. And we're basically getting ready to start that now. I guess it'll be completed maybe a week. Let's see. We've been doing a lot of work in HiveMind. It's one of the things, as mentioned earlier in the call, was this move towards PostgreST. So right now it uses a Python-based server, and we know we get much better performance with PostgreST, and it also fits our model for documentation of APIs, etc. So we're moving HiveMind to support PostgreST, but in order to do that, we have to take a bunch of the Python code that's in there and the API side and replace it with SQL code. So that's a big ongoing task. I think it's pretty far along, but I don't know exactly how close we are to completion yet. I guess it'll be hard to know until we get really close to really say where that's at. Another thing we did was we reduced the HiveMind image size. It was getting kind of big, and now it's down to a quite manageable size. I feel like it's 20 gigabytes, but I can't be sure. So that's the Docker image for downloading I'm talking about. And it had gotten up to be quite high, maybe over 200, maybe 250 gig or so. So big reduction there. Another thing we're doing is, while I was watching performance of Half-Block Explorer and HiveMind, I noticed that Half-Block Explorer in particular was a lot slower, and it turns out the reason was reputation calculations were slowing it down because they run in the same thread. So is the Half-Block Explorer itself. So basically, it's a purely sequential process. So now we're testing moving the reputation calculation completely outside into its own app. So therefore, it runs in a separate thread, and just having HiveMind and Half-Block Explorer read the tables which are basically now asynchronous to the apps themselves. In the case of Reputation, it's not really that important that they're exactly matching. We just basically need them to be roughly matching. So I'm not caring if we happen to get data from one block before, or occasionally every once in a long time. So that we're doing that test now and making those changes. And I think we'll be finished. We're basically, I'd say, almost finished as of today or tomorrow. And we've already got one test started with the version of the code that's basically got HiveMind split out from Reputation Tracker. And we'll do the same thing for Block. We'll finish up the work for Block Explorer and start testing that as well. So we're running a test on that now, and it'll probably take about, I guess, 2 days to get the answers there. But I'm expecting no problems really. And those are probably the major things left, I would say, in terms of the half apps. I don't know how far we'll get with the PostgreST before release, so I'm not 100% sure yet whether we'll be able to release the new half apps with PostgreST or not. So we're just sort of waiting to see on that point. I would like to, if it's possible, of course. Let's see. As part of all that HiveMind stuff, there's been a lot of refactors and cleanup of the code as well. Just naturally, when we're replacing the Python code, we're making it better. And I guess I mentioned Clive already. We're making a lot of changes to the UI of Clive, primarily to make it easier to use. And we've released 2 versions, which are basically alphas, and we're not still to the point where I want to do a big rollout, but I think we're getting much closer. So I'm guessing in the next month we'll have something that's pretty good shape for people to try out. And then beyond that, we're still continuing work on Denser, which is the condenser replacement, and I think that's going okay at this point. We finished most of the work on the primary tool, which is the normal tool for looking at posts and everything, and we're just occasionally fixing bugs there. And on the other side, the wallet is where we're still doing work, basically the wallet replacement part. And there we're of course getting to test Wax as well. So we're testing Wax primarily with Denser and with Half Block Explorer's UI, where we've also been making a lot of changes. And we're testing the Python side with Clive, since it's a Python tool. So that's pretty much the state of things right now. I think we're really looking at December release for everything. That's my goal at this point. And we're starting, I'd say, production testing of some of this stuff, and hopefully this week. So that's pretty much it for me. I don't know if there's any questions about any of that.
Yeah, so you talk about Denser release for testing next week. So there is still no website right now to test it or to see it how it looks.
Oh, so if you want to test Denser, well, actually, Gandalf just posted a link. There's a link for testing it.
Okay, thank you.
Good question. And for Clive, if you want to test Clive, it's just a Docker image you can download. It's really easy. There's a post. You can just go to the BDevs post, and they've got instructions for how to test it. But like I said, it is still undergoing quite a lot of changes UI-wise, and I think we'll have those completed in the next month. So one of the interesting things about Clive, I'll just mention in passing, is it's going to basically have a lot more flexibility than I think any other wallet has for doing complex operations, especially transactions where you're going to put a bunch of different operations in a single transaction, that kind of thing. So it'll be a nice testing tool for someone who's developing and wants to test interesting experiments, I guess to say. Again, some of that, I think it's probably another month before you'd want to play with it seriously, in my opinion. Okay, any other questions? If not, anybody else want to take a chance to speak about what they've been doing?
Hey guys, sorry, it was a bit late today. Got stuck in a meeting. Maybe I'll give a few updates since we've been getting more involved with the Hive tabs and Hive projects. So mostly we've been doing work on the Block Explorer UI. We've introduced a lot of suggestions, at least, and some development also from our side. I'm happy with the few ideas that we came through that were already implemented. Like I think you mentioned it in one of the updates, Dan, about the witness schedule. This is helpful because it wasn't available as part of the current Block Explorer. Maybe showing proxy info in the user profile. The rebranding of the UI. I think today Lucas maybe finished this. I think this is very essential, at least for us, because ActiveIt, we are linking to the Block Explorer and we host our own instance. So being able to manipulate colors in an easy way so that the UI looks much more integrated and the experience is seamless would make it much nicer. I did submit a few issues on the dark mode, light mode, and I think they're under works now.
Yeah,
there were a few, yeah. There were, I mean, we're finally done with the value calculations on the wallet card, so that's also fixed. Yeah, I guess, I mean, we're getting, we keep doing some more testing and just to fine tune things, but overall, I mean, I'm really happy with how Block Explorer is progressing. We started jumping to Dancer, so and what was his name?
FA?
Keiko Kot.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
FA and Keiko Kot.
Okay.
Yeah, so two guys reached out to me. They seem very friendly. So we did submit a couple of merge requests. When we started setting up Dancer, we had few issues, but now, I mean, we found out how to solve some of them. We have the environment set up. We still have issues with the authentication module. Both the blog and the wallet, they run smoothly, but the authentication module, there is an issue with it. I guess I'll try to chat to the guys, see what we're doing wrong or something that needs to be improvement.
Yeah, well, if you guys are having trouble, there's something needs to be improved, either documentation or implementation. I don't know which, but
yeah. yeah. We did submit another one for RTL support, Arabic language, and I think one of the guys assigned the ticket our way. So I don't know if it's just some markdown testing that needs to be done, or if it's really some coding. I think it's some markdown testing. But I left him a note to see what he really wants to be done.
I saw that too. And I don't know what that is, so I couldn't tell you either. But I did see your question. It seemed like a good question, so we'll wait for him to reply.
Yeah.
I did have one other question. I think, I'd ask you if you had if your guy could look into the balance tracker calculation stuff, but it sounded like you thought he wasn't the right guy for that.
Yeah, I'm jumping to that. Yeah, exactly. So yeah, the guy I had who was supposedly was going to work on balance tracker couldn't continue with the work. So I only have now 2 resources who are helping out, and neither of them is able to properly and fully set up balance tracker. So until I have a new resource who can do this, it's pending a little bit for now.
Okay.
If I have some time, I'll try to work on it myself, maybe more. But otherwise, I'll have to find a new resource who can actually help out with this end.
Okay.
I mean, like I said, if it's any urgency,
no, it's not. I mean, I'd like to get it going, but mostly I'd like more, outside guys who are capable of doing that kind of work. So I'm glad you're looking for a guy like that. I think it's a useful guy to have around.
Yeah, excellent. So yeah, basically this is it. And I know you mentioned Clive. I really want to jump into Clive, but we don't have too many resources. I'll see, hopefully, if we have some time to look into it.
Honestly, Clive is probably not the right time to anyone else. I've already got too many guys working on Clive right now, if you ask me.
So, yeah, I got it. And we're already overbooked, I guess, from our side. So yeah, we're trying to just keep working on the Block Explorer, on Dancer, and hopefully get someone to do some work on Balance Tracker.
Sounds great.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
On ActiveIt side, I mean, we've done a lot of releases over the last few weeks, and we do put updates there on the Swarm of Swarms, which is, I think, that's a good place to put some minor updates, but I'm just sharing about the Hive tabs here.
Yeah, makes sense. Okay. Anyone else want to have questions or want to talk about what they're doing?
All right, then I think that's about it. Unless anyone has any questions about any development going on. That's two thumbs up by Brian and Archange.
Yeah, Brian maybe had any sound problems, I'm guessing, but
Yeah. All right, well, thank you all, and see you on Mattermost.
thanks. See you guys.
Thank you, guys. Bye bye.